This is a preview for Deathmatch Downunders. We're not here to fornicate with spiders, thank you very much, as I would like to call it.
That is 100% accurately the show title.
That is totally what the show is called. But we are not here to fuck spiders, and of course I am here joined by Jessica Kyle, the one and only. How are you doing tonight, Jess?
Very well, thank you, Andy. It's been a while since we spent some good quality time together on a school night, doing an exciting preview for one of our upcoming shows. So looking forward to digging into our upcoming matches and having a bit of a chat about what we expect and just getting hyped up for another fantastic Deathmatch Down Under show.
Well, I was going to say, and the show is this Saturday, the Arrow on Swanston. So if you want to run the chance of maybe popping down on the night and buying tickets, I highly recommend you don't. My understanding, there is only a handful of them left. It is nearly sold out. So if this preview convinces you, maybe go and buy them right now. But of course, we are going to have a quick rundown of the card. And Jessica Kyle, straight off the cab rank, it is going to be Joel Bateman in a light tube death match. Now, originally at the show, he was supposed to face Vixen in a no ropes barbed wire death match. Sadly, Vixen unable to make the show. Obviously, we hope she's doing well. But in her place, an open challenge was issued. And Atlas Whitaker decided to take up the challenge, and he will face Joel Bateman in a light tube death match. How do you fancy the chances of one Mr. Whitaker?
Well, I have to admit, Andy, I could see the slight confusion cross your face then when you did say that Atlas Whitaker, of all people, had accepted the challenge. I have to say I do feel the same. I was surprised when I saw that match announced earlier today. Obviously, many of our fans might remember Atlas Whitaker appearing on our previous show, smashing sandcastles in a tag team match with the intrepid Darcy Moss. Certainly a very accomplished technical wrestler, as we saw a little bit eccentric and interesting personality. But I can't say, a personality that I thought would be and immediately fit into the death match. But as we have said previously, all our competitors on our roster are death match ready, and I think this is going to be just a regular occurrence where we see more and more of our roster step up into a death match that we don't expect to. And obviously Joel Bateman going into this match, I think a heavy favorite in a lot of people's eyes, but the fact that we haven't seen a lot of Atlas, you never know what to expect. And it's such a wild stipulation with these light tubes, anything can happen.
Well, I was going to say, I obviously saw my very first light tube death match at the very first show, and out come the wolves. And oh my God, I was not quite expecting what I saw. So this is going to be, we're going to start the show off with a literal bang. Now, one thing I think is interesting with Mr. Atlas Whitaker is he did release a video after it was announced that he would be taking on the challenge. He did release a video online, and he talked about the idea of Joel Bateman being a master of deathmatch wrestling, and he considers himself a student of deathmatch wrestling. So I think he's been doing a lot of research. I think there's a lot of theory in there. We could see an upset. Now, let's be honest, I think Joel Bateman is the heavy favorite, and possibly that's a good thing for Joel Bateman. I know that he came into Deathmatch Down Under hoping to win several more death matches and get them under his belt, but actually he's yet to receive that elusive victory. Although his performances have been strong, they've been impressive, they've been brutal, he hasn't won a death match yet since his return from injury. Could this be the match that finally starts the ball rolling for one Joel Bateman?
I'm sure Joel Bateman is, at this point, probably desperate for a victory in Deathmatch Down Under, an endeavor that he's poured his heart and soul into, and it must be quite crushing to not have that victory in a death match at his signature match and a type of match that he really wants to make an impact on. Obviously, he is going in the favorite from the experience, but we've seen those light tubes in matches, Andy. They cut everyone the same. As soon as that glass touches your skin, everyone's going to bleed, everyone's going to suffer. And Joel Bateman has had some punishing death matches over the last few months. So what is he carrying into this match physically as well? Is he 100%? That is another factor that maybe Atlas is counting on in his first death match, that maybe Joel Bateman is going in a little bit weakened.
Now, before we move on to our next match, I do want to say, let's not underestimate Atlas Whitaker. Just before COVID, I know that he wanted to take a little bit of time out for himself, and he's come back. He's probably in the best shape of his career. I salute you, Atlas Whitaker. I think I can tell that you've worked very hard during the downtime, and I don't know, maybe an upset is around the corner. Anyway, coming up next, Shazza McKenzie finally the Sydney COVID curse has finally lifted, which meant old Shazza here can actually make it all the way here to Melbourne. She'll be taking on Tyson Baxter one-on-one. I've got to say, Jess, we all love a bit of Shazza, don't we?
Yes, very much long awaited to host Shazza here in Melbourne after many hiccups. Finally, the borders are open to our friends in New South Wales and we're able to have Shazza appearing. All I can say about this match is there's a lot of talent and a lot of international experience. Tyson Baxter has wrestled in Japan. Shazza has wrestled, I'm going to say, everywhere. She's been all around the globe,
Yep.
showcasing her skills, picking up victories in many, many promotions. It's also a fresh matchup that correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe we've seen anywhere else, anywhere in the world, even though these competitors are both highly experienced and well-traveled. So it is a very fresh matchup. And the first singles matchup for both of these competitors in DMDU, we've seen Tyson Baxter in tag team action, but not in singles competition. And Shazza McKenzie obviously making her debut here. So nice, fresh singles matchup of two highly skilled competitors. Very much looking forward to it.
Indeed, I've been a fan of young Tyson Baxter. Not so much a fan of when he comes out and he sticks his little fingers left, right, and centre. But maybe that's
a little bit rude. A little bit rude.
It is. I mean, the traditionalist in me gets a little bit grinds his gears when he sees that. But I am a big fan of one Tyson Baxter. I remember when I first saw him at an MCW show, and you can just see that utter raw potential that this man has for a very long career. Still very, very young as well. Still has so much further to go in his career. And so to see him up against a veteran like Shazza is going to be a real test for him. I mean, Shazza, a multi-time PWWA champion. She's obviously been a champion, the Heart of Shimmer champion as well. She's held multiple championships, not just here in Australia, globally as well. We've even seen her take on some of the biggest, hardest hitters in Australia, such as Cavemanugg when she once challenged him for the PWA championship. Something tells me that neither of these competitors are going to back down, and both of them really want that first big win here in Deathmatch Downunder. And when you consider that there is a heavyweight tournament just around the corner, you never know. A victory here might translate to a spot in that tournament. So, you know, these wins and losses, they really do matter.
I would definitely say so, Andy. Yeah, any singles competition we have on our shows from now until our heavyweight tournament, I assume management are going to be keeping a keen eye on for potential competitors. So both Tyson and Shazza will be out to impress.
Absolutely. And also at the show, myself, as part of Snapmares Media, will be getting an interview with Shazza McKenzie. That'll be appearing on the website, no doubt later this month. But all right, let's move to the next match. Something that was announced as a very serious and deadly six-man death match seemingly has taken a little bit of a life on its own. It is, of course, the Fans Bring the Blocks death match. We're going to see the team of Callum Butcher, Manthog, Michael Weaver take on the Aqua Total Violence champion Guido, York, and Mike Chaos. Now, as I said, this has taken a bit of a life of its own because I think when they initially advertised it as Fans Bring the Blocks, they were thinking, yeah, you know what, they're going to bring a few breeze blocks and stuff like that. I've heard rumors that fans have let their imaginations fly, and the concept of what a block is somewhat nice and open. And this should be quite a interesting, humorous, and brutal affair. I just can't wait to see the inevitable scene where somebody gets tombstoned for a block of cheese.
That certainly would be a sight, Andy. I'm very, very excited for this match. Even as you were talking about it, I couldn't keep the smile off my face. I think it's just going to be so much fun to watch. First of all, this stipulation is fantastic, getting our fans involved to bring the weapons that will be involved in this match. As you said, yeah, I don't know what kind of blocks we can expect. I guess as long as it's block shaped, rectangular and somewhat three-dimensional, that will be considered for inclusion into this match. So who knows what we're going to see in the ring? Cinder blocks, cheese blocks. Yeah, you'd have to send someone through a cheese block with quite a bit of force to do any damage, but I guess it would depend on the type of cheese, the firmness of the cheese.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if it's brie, that's a very expensive block, but
yes,
you could probably drop toe hold somebody through that thing.
Yeah. Also, if the cheese is very soft, they could go face first and just suffocate into it. Who knows? But anyway, I digress. We're talking about cheese far too much. So first of all, the stipulation is fantastic, and these teams. I was reading the the combinations of these trios. I couldn't help but think, it's a bit random, shall we say, a little bit wacky. But I think that's just what's going to add to the excitement of the match. So two teams that both have a lot going for them. We've got Callan Butcher, RSP, and Michael Weaver, all of whom who have previously appeared on death matches at our shows. Obviously, with RSP and Weaver, you've got a lot of size and power. Callan Butcher brings that youth, the aggression, and the big deathmatch experience, having main evented our first show in that big match against Damian Rivers. And then in our second team, you've got the experience of Guido, I think is the main factor in this match. Yeah, definitely the most experienced deathmatch competitor. And then we have York and Mike Chaos, who I've got as a bit of an X factor. We haven't seen a lot of them. We've seen York on our preview show in that cinder block match, put in a pretty good showing for first time in a hardcore stipulation.
Yeah, I was going to say, my understanding, that's his very first death match, and he took to a duck to water. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs here as well. He could very quickly rise up the ranks. And sorry, you were obviously just about to talk about Mike Chaos. Obviously he's not got a huge amount of deathmatch experience, but I guess this could be a baptism of fire. And sometimes
that's right. Yeah, from what I've heard, very young, very talented. Like all of our young competitors on our roster, probably keen to impress, keen to put his body on the line. Obviously, in accepting a match such as this, we can see he's already willing to do that. So the fact that he has signed up for this Plans Bring the Blocks deathmatch, he really wants to show what he's got in Deathmatch Down Under. And as we've seen from York on our previous shows, Andy, we've been absolutely blown away by how he just throws his body around the ring with abandon, not caring what the impact does to him, but using his body as a weapon to hurt his opponent. So in a match such as this, that can only work in his favor. That this man just doesn't care. He'll throw his body around in that awesome senton that he uses to such great effect. And I think that's going to be a real big factor in this match, is York using that big body as a weapon along with these blocks, whatever our fans may choose to bring.
Now, obviously, we've talked about the humorous component of this match, but let's obviously talk about something that's very serious underneath. At our previous show, Smashing Sandcastles, Callan Butcher did get a pinfall victory in a tag team contest against Guido. And I think Callan Butcher is really wants a shot at his Aqua Total Violence Championship. And this match could really give him an opportunity to really stake a solid claim on that shot if he can somehow do it again. But look, I think we've talked enough about that match. Let's very quickly move on. We like our big beefy competitors beefing each other.
Indeed we do.
We've got two beefy people in the form of one Cavemanugg and Tommy Knight, two of our sterling premier heavyweight competitors just smashing F out of each other. Jess, who are you going to pick to win this one?
It's a dead heat, Andy. I really don't know. We've seen both of these men in action previously. Tommy Knight wrestled Richie Taylor at our debut show. It was actually the first match that ever went to air for Deathmatch Down Under. Very technically sound, very hard striker, a big man, well over 100 kilos. But Cavemanugg, probably even a little bit bigger, probably has a height and a weight advantage. We've seen Ugg do some truly terrifying things to his opponents so far in his matches, just throw people around the ring, throw them from the outside of the ring into the ring, fight out of the ring all over the building. It's anyone's game, really. Tommy Knight, with that hard striking, obviously has knockout power, can end a match at a moment's notice. But Cavemanugg, he'll do anything for a win, including taking the match out of the ring and using the environment to his advantage. So big shrug for me on this one, Andy.
It's all right.
What happens.
If you had asked me, say, a month or 2 months ago, I would have said Cavemanugg, easy. He was the unstoppable one. This is a man who nobody could touch. He walked into that show knowing that he was an MCW Intercommonwealth champion and the PWA heavyweight champion. However, in the last few months, maybe the mythos of Cavemanugg has been a little bit tarnished. At the very first show for Deathmatch Down Under, he was submitted by one Jake Andrew Arthur, which undoubtedly was the biggest win in Jake's career. And then Cavemanugg would go on to not only lose the MCW Intercommonwealth Championship to Lockie Hendricks over at Melbourne City Wrestling, he would also lose his prize PWA Heavyweight Championship to Tough Stuff Ricky South. So Cavemanugg, usually the untouchable one, the man who dominates all, he's looking a bit shaky, and I think Tommy Knight is going to come through with a massive upset. That's what I'm calling. That's what I'm betting my beer allowance on this show on, Jess. So
that's a big bet, Andy, and fantastic research on your behalf. Yes, definitely losing those titles in quick succession would certainly shake the confidence of Cavemanugg, would shake his mental outlook on his future matches. So we'll have to see what sort of condition he comes in and whether he can sort of wipe the slate clean to focus on this match with Tommy Knight, which I think he's going to need to do because Tommy Knight's going to need his undivided attention.
Now, our final singles contest, we're going to see Richie Taylor, Mr. Smashmouth himself, take on Gore. And Jess, considering what happened at our last event, Smashing Sandcastles, I think it's fair to say that Gore and his brother Crackerjack are a pair of dicks.
Yes, I did see the words that they had to say after that match. First of all, disgusting actions to attack Richie after his contest with JXT. I do believe, if memory serves me, they not only cost him that match, but then both Crackerjack and Gore combining to further beat down Richie after that match and humiliate him, and then further humiliate him with their not so nice words captured in our post-match press conference. So Crackerjack and Gore will certainly go into this match riding high, thinking that they have the upper hand. But Richie, look, I think he's pissed. He's got something to prove. He definitely wants revenge on a personal level for both being cost of victory at such an important show and also, you know, taking that physical beatdown from Gore and his brother Crackerjack. He's going to go in fired up, and we know he hits hard. He's a talented young man, still with something to prove. He's going to really want this victory over Gore.
I was going to say, I mean, it's very interesting thinking about the mental mindscape, so to speak, of both competitors. With Gore at our lost show, he lost to Cavemanugg. Gore, again, somebody who you always think as being nigh on untouchable, but there he was. He had, he had taken a big loss, and obviously him coming out along with his brother Crackerjack to assault Richie Taylor was a way to basically bolster himself up. Meanwhile, Richie Taylor had just come out of a loss against JXT, a dirty loss, I have to say. JXT did not win that one clean. And I think for both men, like we said, coming up is a heavyweight championship tournament, and both men want to get into that right mindset. They want to be going into it with momentum. They want to be considered for that tournament. And Richie Taylor, this is a man, he's a minnow swimming against sharks, basically. But if there's one thing we've seen, and we saw in his match with Tommy Knight back at our very first show, all it takes is one quick moment and he can knock you out. I think it's going to be power versus speed. It's even man's game, in my opinion. I reckon it's going to be very, very close.
That's right, Andy. And will Crackerjack, who I assume is accompanying Gore to the ring, be a factor in this match? As if Gore wasn't dangerous enough as it is, he now has his brother by his side, who we thought was not cleared to wrestle, but now is physically intervening in matters inside the ring. Will this be a fair contest, or will Crackerjack be a factor?
Right, let's move on to the crown jewel of Here to Fuck Spiders. Thank you very much, sir. And that is, of course, the tag team tournament. We are now into the semi-finals. At this show, we will see the semi-finals. The first one, of course, being Aisha and Murdoch, aka Misspent Youth, taking on Mitchell Wright and Hector Jones of the Anti-Deathmatch Party. No doubt they'll be coming to the ring with Katie Lux as well. The other match is going to be Kid Valiant, Zane Zodiac. Massive upset to get to the semi-finals, taking on the very experienced team of JXT and Fox, aka Blacklisted. So come on, Jess, we've got to put our beers on the line here. We need a bet here. 4 teams. Who's taking it and why?
Semi-final time, Andy. It all comes down to this for our beautiful new tag team titles. I have seen the belts. They are absolutely magnificent. So, 2 fantastic semi-finals. Aisha and Murdoch, aka Misspent Youth, versus Anti-Deathmatch Party. Even though we only have one team in this match that actually has youth in their name. They're both very, very young. As Mitchell Wright and Hector Jones. I believe Hector Jones is still in his first year of wrestling, so quite the newcomer.
He is, but he was trained at the MCW Academy, so he's had some really good tutelage as well. So
he has, yes. And what I've seen from him with Mitchell Wright, they seem to have quite a strong bond. They have definitely bonded over their dislike of the shenanigans of death matches, and now joining force with Katie Lux to form quite the unit. This is going to be a fantastic match. A lot of youth, a lot of talent. We've seen Aisha and Murdoch. They work very well together. We've made reference to their real life relationship. Very obviously a lot of chemistry both in and out of the ring. A lot of talent. Aisha with her technical prowess and that ability to see what's coming next for her from her opponents, think 1 to 2 steps ahead, and Murdoch with his unique offense, the yeet kick, all those great moves that he has in his arsenal. But then, Mitchell Wright and Hector Jones, very, very technically accomplished as well, will definitely be wanting to prove themselves, and I'm sure would love to hold those titles to, prove that anti-deathmatch is the way into the future for the tag team division. And our second match, Kid Valiant versus Zane Zodiac. Kid Valiant and Zane Zodiac, I should say, versus Blacklisted.
Quite right,
Yep, Blacklisted, the most experienced team actually in the semifinals bracket out of the 4. Lots of experience between JXT and Fox. Lots of cunningness. We've seen both of them try to do whatever they can to win a match. So I'm going to have to give them the upper hand in this, I think. Kid Valiant, we saw very, very talented, high flying, very, very quick, can fly around that ring like anything. I think him and Zane Zodiac will put up a good showing, but I'm going to have to go with Blacklisted in this one, I think.
Yeah, just talking about that match very quickly. I mean, it is interesting. Kid Valiant, Zane Zodiac, definitely the underdogs in that semi-final versus JXT and Fox, Blacklisted. But what's very interesting is Kid Valiant, still a very young competitor. And actually, his pairing with Zane Zodiac is interesting. Both high flyers. Zane Zodiac, much more experience. He's part of, he's part of the Decade Club effectively. So actually, it's a good pairing in that even if they don't win the tournament or even if they don't win this match, it's still fantastic experience for Kid Valiant. But you never know. We've seen upsets. We've already seen them get an upset, so maybe they'll get an upset here. And then, of course, Anti-Deathmatch Party taking on Misspent Youth. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning, Aisha has threatened her real-life partner that if they don't win the tag team titles, she's dumping his ass, which means,
really,
I am
high stakes.
I am one step away of getting your boy Murdoch as me beer buddy. So lock up your daughters, everyone, because me and Murdoch, we're going to go out and be very respectful to all the ladies out there. So
I'm assuming you're actually rooting for Anti-Deathmatch Party in this match, Andy, so that Murdoch is a free man to have beers with you. Am I correct?
I need a wingman, basically. No, I do not. Don't tell my wife that. I'm obviously only joking. But look,
let's not tell Aisha that either.
No, let's not. But look, Jess, come on, pick a team. Who's winning it?
Ooh, good question, Andy. I think I'm going to have to go with the experience of Blacklisted. I hate to say, I know you've had your problems with Fox and both JXT. Not the nicest men on the roster, but I think their experience, their cunningness, their longevity as a team, they have teamed in previous promotions quite a few years under their belt as a tag team. I think they're going to be holding those shiny new belts, and possibly you'll have your new drinking buddy.
Well, obviously, although I was obviously jesting about Misspent Youth losing and therefore me gaining and winning the heart of Murdoch, actually, I'm going to give them the nudge to possibly win this tournament. I think every time we've seen them compete, they have been incredibly, incredibly strong. I think that their pairing just works. There's a lot of experience in tag teams with, particularly with Aisha as well, being a former PCW tag team champion. It's going to be a great tournament. It really could belong to any team. I'm going to put my money on Misspent Youth. You're putting it on Blacklisted, and whoever loses is buying the drinks for the rest of the night.
Deal, Andy.
Agreed. Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been our preview for Deathmatch Downunder, not here to fuck spiders. And of course, the show almost sold out this Saturday night, Arrow on Swanston. So if you do fancy getting there, go get your tickets now. But if you do miss out, don't worry. It'll be shown on IWTV shortly afterwards. Stay tuned to snapmaresmedia.com and we'll let you know when. Or, Deathmatch Downunder's social medias, whatever floats your boat. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Jessica Kyle. Jess, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you very much, Andy. See you all on Saturday night.
We shall. And I've been Lord Andy Coyne. Thank you and good night.
Bye-bye.